This is a view outside my back door of my penny fountain that I created. This was made from a bowling ball, a brass pot, two brass pots, some river rock, a whole bunch of pennies. Makes a really nice bubbling fountain. Here's how I did it. So I came across something rather interesting at my local thrift store today. I don't know why this caught my attention, but it did catch my attention. Obviously it's an old bowling ball. I think the color is what caught my attention. It's very iridescent copper colored. Now I'm not a bowler. In fact, I'm a terrible bowler. But something about this just begged me to get it. So I got thinking about this bowling ball. What could I do with this bowling ball? So my creative mind started moving. And I started thinking, maybe, just maybe, I can build some kind of a fountain with this bowling ball. And then, as I was thinking about this, I thought even more, what would it be like if I took this bowling ball, covered it in pennies, had water coming out one of the holes, spilling over throughout the whole thing. And then I put this thing on top of a copper and brass planter and put it in my garden. Amazing things go through the mind of Rajhef at a thrift store. So I decided to start playing around with this bowling ball fountain idea. I just happen to have a really long masonry bit drill bit. I don't even know what a bowling ball is made out of, to be very honest with you. It's very heavy. I'm assuming it's some kind of a stone or concrete. I have a piece of copper tubing, which just happens to fit pretty well in the thumb hole. The finger holes are a little bit too small for this, but it fits really well. I'll epoxy that in so that it can't move around, and that'll be how the water escapes the top. More to come. Well, the drill through it wasn't that big of a deal. It took about 5 minutes. I don't know, bowling ball's made of something. It smells like Bondo. It's a really soft, powdery, I mean, it's a solid, but it drills out pretty soft and powdery, and drills pretty easy. If you have a masonry bit and you want to try something like this, hey, go for it. I'm going to be applying the pennies with this marine quality Loctite. It's made for underwater applications, so I think given the fact that it's going to be a fountain, will help adhere the pennies. I have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is to simply put the pennies on top of this and leave the copper underneath. That's what inspired me in the first place. Plan B is to put the pennies on, but then grout over to fill in the gaps. I don't know which way it's going to go yet. I do have to sand this down in order for the glue to stick. I don't know what that is going to do to my copper appearance of this bowling ball, so we'll find out. Stay tuned. Well, I sanded it with some 150 grit sandpaper. It left a lot of scratches, which is what the glue needs to really adhere. The pattern is still there. Don't know how well it's going to stay and how well it's going to show through the pennies, but here's the idea. You can kind of see what it's going to look like if I don't put grout in it. I'm leaning toward not putting grout in it, simply because I want the rippling effect of the water going over the pennies, and if I grout it, I think I'm going to lose some of that effect. This glue should be watertight, but I don't know. It's going to be a little experimentation. This is it, by the way, sitting on top of the copper pipe. So the trickiest part was actually getting the pennies. The bank would only give me $3 of pennies. I don't know how far that's going to get me, but I may have to make another trip to the bank. I have all the pennies glued onto this bowling ball. I'm going to have to go with the black grout because, as you can see, the glue that I used, it's a marine grade glue, so it can stand a lot of water, but it's white, and that's going to just kind of ruin the whole appearance. So I'm going to grout it with black grout. My biggest issue so far with this project has been finding the pennies. The bank would only give me $3 worth of pennies. Apparently there's a penny shortage in Florida. So I had to scrounge to find enough pennies to finish this. It took about $6 worth of pennies. How did this project go so far? This is a painstakingly slow process. Glue gets everywhere. It takes a very long time. I probably have, oh my gosh, 3 hours into this goofy project so far. Stay tuned for more. Well, I have the bowling ball covered. I have the whole thing assembled, as a matter of fact. My next decision is where to put this thing. Should I put it on some blocks so that it matches the rest of my blocks out here in my garden, in my sanctuary? Should I put it here? This is the first place that I thought of putting it. Should it be on this little pillar? Should it not be on this pillar? This is the finished bowling ball, by the way, covered in pennies. I think it's really cool. I think it's going to look sweet. My problem with this particular area, it's fairly level in this direction, but way off on this one. It's going to require some serious shimming. I can't very easily shim these blocks. I think I would end up shimming the bottom container. So this is option number one. My next placement option is here. I've often thought that as I sit here in my sanctuary that this wall should continue over in this direction. So if I were to put it on a pillar made out of these blocks in this location, that would be an option. It's not sitting too high that it takes away from my pond area, although I think visually the water sparkling off of it would take away from my waterfall, but I digress. We'll figure it out. These blocks are just sitting here. They are not level right now. Easy to level though, sitting here. So visually this would be kind of an interesting spot. One of the important things, however, is I want it to be visible from inside my back patio. So let's see what this would look like sitting where I tend to sit quite often, which is right here. Now I know the sunlight is shining off the screens, but it's hidden from my view when I'm sitting here, and I don't know that I like that. It's behind that shrub. It's way over there. How well you can see it. Oh my gosh, the sunlight is shining on the screen, but there it is. I don't know that that's the good spot, but we'll see. The more I thought about this, the more I like this idea of it being right outside where I tend to sit quite a bit. I know the sun's shining on the screen a little bit too much right here, but it's very visible. It's right outside this window. I'll take a video when it's running, because I think this is a great spot. The view from my seat when I'm sitting in my sanctuary it's right there. It's very shiny when the sun is hitting it. I think the water's going to sparkle beautifully. It's far enough away visually from my waterfall that I don't think it'll take away from it. And I think what I'll do is I'll continue my wall across to meet up with it. I had some jasmine that were planted there, and they're always getting frost damage, so there they are. I'm going to put them someplace else, and I'll put some new plants in here. But if I continue this low wall, I think that's going to make a really nice addition to this landscape. And the finished product. It does exactly what I was hoping it would do. There's a little bit of movement, probably a little bit smoother than I would like. I think if I didn't have to put the grout in between the pennies, it would have been a little bit more movement visible, but it's fantastic. You can hear a nice little gurgling sound. The view from inside the house is just perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for. I have to put a couple plants in here, finish my landscaping, but that's the fountain.